As Jim Jones watched in complete disbelief on live television, did Chrissy really admit she had gotten married to someone else? Didn't anyone anticipate it? Nor the crowd, nor the presenter. And most certainly not Jim. Chrissy was composed, grinning, and laughing 1 minute. And then she dropped the bomb that ruins families. Jim and I were already legally wed, but not legally. Hold on. What? The blood was actually dripping from Jim's face. People believed it to be a prank. The harm was already done when the producer cut to the advertisement. There was no script for this. There was no plot to this. This was betrayed in real life, broadcast to the globe at large. Jim just sat there blinking as if he was having trouble breathing. Since then, the internet has been in flames. This secret hubby is who? Chrissy lied for years. Why? What does Jim stand to gain from this? A man who waited more than 10 years. To marry her, it's not just him. A major scandal is erupting here. And believe me, it's going to spew all over the place. Don't blink, because all they've ever built could be destroyed by what comes next. He believed he had everything all out. The legacy, the affection, and the loyalty were meant to be untouchable. However, when the cameras began to roll and the truth began to show through shattered grins and sidelong glances on national television, Jim Jones was subjected to a betrayal so heinous and so widely known that it left the room in shock. It was evident in his eyes, that movement of his jaw. On live television, that quiet moment when everyone witnessed a man realize his eternity simply vanished. Chrissy didn't just do it quickly. Jim was out here yelling while Sis ran. In spirit, we were wed. Out here, this woman was officially marrying someone else behind the scenes. The worst part is that Jim and the others learned about it. No heads up. Number warning. No, hello, sweetie. We must speak. A live broadcast, a scandal, and a man who was totally taken by surprise in front of millions of people happened all at once. You all recall their troubled past, don't you? Twitter was in a tizzy over the hip-hop and love proposal. Years of back and forth, splits, makeup, and promises spoken in studios, as well as winners splashing arguments at dim-lit restaurants, all contributed to the engagement that never happened. However, this elevated betrayal to a completely new plane. Here's what actually happened. Chrissy has been speaking to someone else for months, according to sources who had been whispering as if they were afraid for their lives. Not innocent DMs were conversing, not only flirting casually. Burner phones, encrypted messages, private jet journeys under false pretenses, camels at meals, and Turks the complete spy movie package. And you know what? She is allegedly married to a man who is not your typical guy. He has a connection, quiet money, industry power, the kind that lurks in the background and keeps people out of the tabloids. Chrissy, however, kept her composure, continuing to appear on red carpets with Jim as if nothing were going on. They continued to smile at events. In the meantime, she had already filed the papers for her covert wedding. To escape the media, she allegedly signed off in Puerto Rico, using her maiden name. Even her closest female friends was unaware. One friend slipped and said, "I thought she was just getting a business license." Baby, no. That was a marriage certificate. And Jim, he was out here defending her name like a loyal soldier. "We don't need no paper to prove our love," he told Anne, interviewer last month, that she had already signed the document with someone else. They were both scheduled for a panel. The reunion episode was taped in Los Angeles. This is where it gets messy. A special segment about the year's secret celebrity weddings rolled. And everyone was laughing and sipping champagne when a blurry photo of Chrissy in white next to a man who wasn't Jim appeared on screen. The entire room fell silent, and Jim's face was priceless, confused, stunned, and broken. "What is this?" he whispered. "Yo, what is this?" He kept looking off camera as if someone had to explain, and Chrissy froze. She didn't say anything, didn't even blink, just sat there, her eyes cold as if she wanted him to learn this way. And you know the internet does not sleep. Within minutes, #ChrissyMarried began trending. Blogs went crazy. And footage of the ceremony that had been leaked appeared on Reddit. It was grainy, but it was clear enough. And a voice in the background sounded eerily like her mother clapping, indicating that even she was involved. Jim stormed off the set, but not before hurling his microphone across the stage and yelling, "Y'all played with my life for views. Hey." And darling, he wasn't mistaken. However, let's go back a little since Chrissy was planning while Jim was out here promoting his new record and discussing loyalty on podcasts. "I gave that man 20 years of my life," she allegedly told them. "I'm worthy of a man that keeps his word." Oop, the math is mate. Because if you really think about it, 20 years, 1 proposal, 0 weddings. She might have had a point, but the execution was downright savage. Let's not forget Jim's mama. Nancy, aka Mama Jones, never liked Chrissy. She said from day one, "That girl was smooth. Told y'all she was no good." Mama Jones said on Facebook Live while sipping champagne as if she had won the lottery. It's a generational petty, as well as Chrissy's new partner. She was seen wearing a diamond anklet and a fresh ring on his yacht off the coast of St. Bart's just days after the wedding was made public. The caption on her Instagram story read, "Finally, free, baby. You've simply tossed away 20 years and said it was freedom." But hold on, the temperature drops. Jim reportedly had a big surprise planned just 2 weeks prior to the live TV reveal. According to rumors, he had planned his own proposal, which included hiring a private choir, booking a posh resort in the Maldives, flying in her closest friends, and even choosing a 10-carat ring that would make any rapper envious. Jim's inner circle is furious. One of his boys shared a now-deleted tweet that read, "Imagine giving your all to someone who is married to someone else the entire time. So, that rings are sitting in a drawer somewhere, gathering dust and regret. No lies found, sick world." The worst part is that Chrissy isn't denying anything. In fact, she has been like tweets that claim she took the necessary action. And in her most recent interview with a dubious gossip outlet, she stated bluntly, "Sometimes you have to save yourself, even if it breaks a few hearts." A couple, girl. A whole man's soul was broken by you. And fans, they're divided. Some are calling her a queen for choosing herself. Others say she's cold, calculating, and a master manipulator. The timeline is a war zone. TikTok theories, Instagram deep dives, Twitter threads dragging both of them to hell and back. One viral comment said, "Jim waited too long. Now she's gone. Easy math." Another, "She spent years being checked out. He simply failed to notice it." However, we now question if anyone anticipated it. Or was this all part of Chrissy's strategy to keep the public interested in, will they or won't they covertly alter her own conclusion? In any event, there's no denying that the game has evolved. Jim is no longer the player either. The played is him. And then, as if things couldn't get any worse, they do. On national television, poor, naive Jim Jones falls into a trap. You could sense something wasn't right, even though the man was trying to keep it together and laugh off the uneasy energy. Then, suddenly, they struck him with it. They play the tape after the host says, "Well, we've got some breaking news footage. Coming in, we think you should take a look." Jim loses his smile. In the seat, his body moves. Dead quiet as the man actually snatches the microphone and exclaims, "Wait, that's Chrissy." A pin drop could be heard in the studio. In front of a clerk's office, Chrissy was seen on camera embracing Andre. Confetti was present. Bridesmaids were present. "Kiss the bride" was even shouted by someone in the background, and they did. Jim's expression became lifeless. The man appeared to have been struck in the chest. Despite his best efforts, he broke down as he exclaimed, "Yo, this isn't real. This has gotta be fake, right?" The host remained silent, simply gazed. Jim's eyes began to water, and the camera focused on them. Social media went crazy. By the next second, comments were pouring in. Jim didn't learn about his girl's marriage on live television. She had moved on from him. He simply refused to watch it. You don't squander 19 years on a maybe because of this. People were picking sides. Naturally, she had every right to move on, according to Team Chrissy. For decades, he had been dragging her along. She asked him to marry her. What woman would do that and yet be left in the dark? Team Jim, meanwhile, claimed that she had cheated on him. Without any prior notice or communication, she secretly married another man. It was being devoured by the internet like Sunday brunch. Let's not overlook the leaks, though. Yes, as soon as the interview aired, the leaks began to come in. A purported bridesmaid from Chrissy's group who was iced out recording that was leaked at the last minute, showing Chrissy discussing her wedding plans weeks prior. She says in the video, "I'm done waiting for a man who can't make decisions. Andre knows what he wants. I'm not explaining myself anymore." The betrayal hits differently now. This wasn't an impromptu Vegas elopement. Chrissy planned and calculated this. She knew exactly what she was doing. She didn't just move on. She timed her new marriage to humiliate Jim on purpose. With cameras rolling, but why? Some say it's retaliation. Some claim it's control, but there's one theory circulating in the fake Reddit streets, all for a show deal. According to rumors, Chrissy and Andre signed a deal with a new network for a reality show called New Wife. Old Life and her producers wanted a shocking first episode. What's more shocking than a surprise wedding that destroys your ex's entire reputation on live TV? And Jim, he didn't go home after the interview. Instead, he stormed off set and allegedly got into a heated phone conversation with his manager, saying, "She really did that to me. That's how she actually let me out." For an hour, he was pacing the parking lot while tossing his hat. He was reportedly caught mumbling, "It's always the ones you ride for who stab you the deepest," while kicking the curb. As for Chrissy, she hasn't said a word publicly. No tweet, no IG story, just one post on her grid. A photo of her hand wearing a massive wedding ring with the caption, "Finally, cue internet meltdown." Jim's supporters were furious. This woman is acting like she won the lotto after using him as leverage. Chrissy's supporters, meanwhile, clapped back. She waited 20 years. Secondly, she is worthy of happiness. Additionally, as the internet quarreled, a waiter who worked the wedding uploaded a new video from the occasion. In the video, Chrissy makes a toast to letting go of the past and, for once, choosing herself. Everyone gave a clap. The camera switched to a clock-shaped cake as Andre planted a kiss on her cheek. Dead. Simply dead. Even generally unbiased blogs were unable to resist. It was only the beginning, but one headline said, "Chrissy marries Jim Jones, her former friend," while he still calls her wifey on national TV. Ultimate plot twist or petty revenge. It was chaos, because Jim's next action was unexpected. Soon as Chrissy left the stage, social media became a battlefield. #sex went viral. Chrissy was unfaithful. #prayer for Gaim. #exposure of Chrissy. However, the person Chrissy married was a surprise to everyone. It was more than a casual private matter. No, the individual in question is a former VH1 producer. Yes, the same network that popularized Jim and Chrissy. The worst part is still to come. In the past, this man, let's call him Ryko, is said to have been the one who persuaded Jim to pop the question to Chrissy on television. Talk about betrayal that goes full circle. During post-production, Ryko and Chrissy became close. According to an unnamed crew member, stay near. Although we all saw it, we assumed it was merely Hollywood teasing. None of us anticipated that she would wed the man, but Jim's name is still hanging off. Imagine Jim sitting in his dressing room, still in shock from the TV onslaught. His hands are on his head, swinging the chain, and he murmurs, "There's no way. There's no way this is a real man." Cameras were off. However, someone leaked a voice note in it, which is where things get messy. Jim can be heard talking to a close buddy in a whisper. "What does loyalty today look like? I gave her everything and created her, and now she's married to the same guy who used to bring me coffee on set." It hit the friend hard when he said, "Bro, she'd been gone. You just don't want to see it." This was hardly an impromptu betrayal. For years, this gradual and silent estrangement took place in the background. Jim was the last person to find out. Chrissy and Rico, her purported new spouse, were seen boarding a private plane to St. Bart's in the meanwhile. And guess what? If you thought that was awful, the diamond bracelet that Jim had given her following his 2018 music comeback performance was still on her. Yes, that small detail put supporters into a tailspin. Not her on vacation with Rico, wearing Jim's jewelry. It didn't stop with one tweet that cried out, "That's villain behavior." Chrissy's close friend Tamika went live from her hotel room and revealed more information than anyone could have expected. "Not even half of it is known by you all," Tamika started. "Chrissy Ben left the relationship for good. I'm not going to die waiting for Jim to marry me. She told me 2 years ago. I will marry myself or someone I truly want to." She obviously meant it. However, Jim isn't remaining silent anymore. His Instagram profile displayed a mysterious story. White writing on a black backdrop? That glittering stuff isn't love. Loyalty. As opposed to affection? Be careful who you build with. Millions of followers suddenly descended on his comment area, demanding explanations. But the harm had already been done. This is where the narrative takes a risky turn. Jim's team allegedly sought a restraining order against Rico rather than Chrissy. According to sources, Jim feels that this was manipulation rather than merely betrayal. One representative, Rico, was familiarly adjacent. He added, "And he was in our group. He destroyed something sacred by using his access." Furthermore, Rico's ex-girlfriend, yes, he had one, appears out of nowhere with voicemails, recites, and even has a grainy picture of Rico and Chrissy on what appears to be a hotel balcony. This went beyond simple infidelity. This was a conspiracy. And suddenly, everything was being exposed. However, Jim's mother, Nancy, well known as Mama Jones, gave her first public speech, which was possibly the most heartbreaking moment. "I told my son years ago, Chrissy, didn't I? She doesn't care about our family, and now she's done embarrassed him on TV." She said that with tears in her eyes and rage in her voice. I hope she enjoys that man because she just lost a real one. Her admirers, particularly hip-hop fans and old-school lovers, came together to support her. We were instructed by Mama Jones Bin. While the internet was attacking Chrissy, her camp was retaliating, according to one admirer who said she always saw through her act. One of Chrissy's stylists sent a dubious tweet saying, "You guys are really upset that an adult lady chose herself." Perhaps all of this would have been avoided had Jim signed the marriage license 10 years ago. Move on. And the war went on. It was being devoured by blogs. Breakdowns were being performed by YouTubers. Even former co-stars began to weigh in. Karma spins like a DJ. Hope everyone's watching the set. Jan Dandy Smith said in a since-deleted TWEETVH1 insiders, meanwhile, asserted that the whole disaster was a component of a botched reboot proposal. Yes, exactly. Rumor has it that Chrissy and Jim were asked to make a surprise comeback to television. A phony vow renewal that ended badly and a covert wedding betrayal. However, it became genuine at some point. Was this a planned incident? Or did the script just not fit reality? Here's an additional layer. Chrissy altered her legal last name weeks prior.